After drinking a bottle of spring water, the patient noticed something unusual, a tiny larva floating inside. He casually crushed it between his fingers, not thinking much of it. But later, when his urine sample settled, the same black larvae appeared. Soon after, he began experiencing nosebleeds and other strange symptoms. On the advice of the facility director, he underwent hydrotherapy. He was sealed inside a massive metal tank. As he floated, Martin saw a swarm of eels circling around him. He struggled to swim upward but quickly lost strength and sank, surrounded by the writhing creatures. The medical staff eventually pulled him out, but when he looked back down into the tank, the eels were gone. The doctor insisted it had all been a hallucination. But Martin wasn't convinced. He'd seen one of those creatures in the toilet before. Late one night, the toilet began to shake violently. When Martin pressed his finger against it, the vibration suddenly stopped. Through the window, he saw the facility's gardener wheeling a patient into an old, abandoned church. After watching for several nights, Martin realized the gardener brought patients there every night. And each time someone was taken inside, the toilet would begin to tremble. The next day, Martin tried to investigate the church himself but was stopped by the gardener, only deepening his suspicion that something was being hidden inside. Later, he spoke to a patient who told him the sanatorium used to be a medieval castle. 200 years ago, the castle's baron committed unspeakable acts. Desperate to produce a pure bloodline, he violated natural law by having a child with his own sister. Obsessed, the baron began experimenting on people, using eels to purify the human body, trying to extract something that could help create genetically perfect offspring. When the villagers discovered the truth, they stormed the castle, cut the baby out of the baron's sister, and set the entire place on fire. Martin was stunned by the story. In a fit of panic, he smashed a glass, using the shards to cut through the cast on his leg. To his horror, he found no wound underneath. His leg wasn't even injured. There was no pain. That's when he realized everything at the sanatorium had been a setup. 2 weeks earlier, Martin had tried to bring the company's CEO back to work but got into a car accident. When he woke up, he found himself in the sanatorium with his leg in a cast. The director told him it had been broken in the crash. But the more time Martin spent there, the more bizarre everything seemed. The patients behaved oddly, and treatments involved things like underwater exercises and sauna sessions, hardly conventional therapy. Martin eventually found the CEO and convinced him to return. But when Martin went to pick him up, the man had vanished. The director claimed his condition had worsened and he was undergoing special treatment. Martin searched and eventually discovered him in an underground maze, suspended in a glass tank, completely unresponsive. That's when it all clicked. Martin realized the abandoned church the gardener visited every night wasn't just a building, it was a gateway to something darker. That night, he followed the path down and found a hidden lab. The place was filled with eel research and shelves holding baby fetuses preserved in formaldehyde. On a vanity sat several masks made of human skin. In the main hall, a large portrait of the baron's sister hung on the wall. Shockingly, she looked exactly like one of the current patients, Hannah. At that moment, Martin witnessed the gardener dumping a body into a tank. In a flash, a swarm of eels surged forward and devoured the corpse completely. Horrified, Martin fled the underground lab. The next day, during mealtime, Martin stood before all the patients and exposed the director's horrific secret. But instead of reacting with outrage or shock, the patients slowly rose from their seats, surrounding Martin like a horde of zombies, closing in on him from all sides.